All right, let's start rolling. So, Matt Sanford, you just were tuning the Zr1, not the Zr1 yet at X yet, but I'm sure that's probably coming. The Z06 just opened up. HP Tuners just basically kind of let the floodgates out on the C8 platform finally after 9 years. What, 8 years of that car?
Yeah.
7, 8 years?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Of that car being out?
Yeah.
This is the first time that the computers are unlocked, like realistically?
Well, on the Z cars.
On the Z cars, yeah.
Because the Stingray's been unlocked for, I guess, 2 years now, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. Like, it took a lot longer for them to catch up with the C8, the regular Stingray.
And even on the base model ones, were they fully opened as much as you are now? Same amount?
Yeah.
Or was there, like, some stuff that wasn't?
It's still an ongoing process, even with, like, a 9906 pickup truck. They still add tables every day.
Yeah.
So, but when they brought out the Stingray, it was kind of like the Global B truck where it had most of what you needed. There may be a couple little handful of tables that you needed, but the Z car is one of those ones where we're struggling to find the tables. We have all the flow charts. We know roughly where stuff is, but it's almost like the developer Eric Brooks that was helping me. He basically speaks Spanish, I speak English, and we have no Google Translate between us. So we're like trying to piece together, like, okay, I know what it's called in my language. You know what it's called in your language. What are they going to call it? And so that's where we're at on that.
Yeah, so I guess I'm trying to really understand what HP Tuners gets into when they unlock it, because it is weird. Like they've unlocked it, but they're trying to pull tables out almost of like.
Well, we have all of the binary, but you have to decode the binary, and you have to understand, like when you're looking at tables, you have to be able to identify like the axis. Like it's not like when you decode the binary, it's not like it says this is a desired load table. You kind of have a layout of the axis on both X and Y. You have a data section, and you have to try to pinpoint, okay, is this load? Is it spark? Is it, whatever it is? Like, he has to be the one to determine that.
Yeah. Or is this something new that GM's monitoring that we haven't figured out yet? Or something new that some new table that's cross-referencing 5 different things that GM hasn't really publicized yet. What is GM using?
I honestly don't know.
Like when they plug in, what does their software look like?
I'm sure for the Z car is some manufacturer specific, Bosch specific kind of scan tool, but I have no idea what that is.
Because they have to be using a pretty good program.
Oh yeah,
it's got to be really intuitive for them to be able to dial these cars in that well.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is about the ZR1 and the Z06 is a lot of the tables were actually already defined in other ECUs. For instance, this computer being an MG1 Bosch, Can-Am X3s have ran it. Mercedes-Benz have ran it. Now, nobody uses the same style of logic, but it's still kind of the same language, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the tables were already defined in other platforms. And so whenever we first opened up the software, Eric had the definitions laid out to where we had, if it was in any other type of car, it kind of auto-populated kind of thing. And then we had to go in and find the GM-specific parts. And since GM hadn't used this ECU before, we got to figure out what they're going to word it as, what they're using. Like, it's pretty wild stuff.
So when you guys unlocked it together, you were obviously very close with HP Tuners on this, it sounds like.
Yes and no. So basically how it worked is they got the unlock. They knew it was going to happen. Then they started to ease. There was, I think, 2 other guys that had access to an unlocked Z car, but we actually were the first ones to work directly with HP Tuners and actually have a finished tuned product, basically. Mm-hmm. So I come in with tables already somewhat defined to where we could adjust idle, we could adjust spark, we could adjust certain things. We just had to pinpoint the rest of the limits. And so that's where they leaned on me because I'm used to doing all the GM stuff. Eric's used to doing Mustang, Ford, Polaris, stuff like that. So then we just kind of had to put our languages together to determine, okay, what's this new limit? If we could up the boost a little bit, well, now the throttle's closing even more. Torque is still about the same. What's stopping us? Is it injection window? Is it fuel pressure? We don't know. So we just had to kind of just keep plugging away at it until we finally got a finished product or a somewhat finished product.
Can you see on the binary, like, how much binary you haven't decoded yet? You know what I mean? Like what percentage, I guess? Like
So-
how much are we missing here? Or is it just a wild, like, you know, like an Easter egg hunt. There could be 100. I don't know.
That's kind of where it's more like the second style. Like they have access to all of the binary, but there's so much data in these ECUs. I don't know how long it would take to actually decode everything and figure out what each table does.
Yeah.
So
there's probably so many useless ones.
Correct. And so there'll be inverse tables that we may not need. So basically, they're just trying to define the tables that we would actually use for a tune.
Yeah, and there's ones that it's like if it's negative 50 degrees, you know, like because GM has to,
Right.
OEM has to prepare for
Right.
if this car's in Antarctica for some reason.
Yeah, and they are, let's just say they always will add in tables that may not even exist for that specific platform. So a lot of the tables that we would find, it would be zeroed out inside the table. So we could pinpoint what the table does, but it's not populated in the Zr1. It may be populated in the Zr1X. It could be populated in a future model down the road. We don't know. So as we're plugging away at these, and he'd put them in the software for me, I'd look at it and be like, okay, well, this table obviously does nothing. And so we would just ignore it and move on. And
how would you know, like, they would, obviously there's no labeling, like you're saying, like it's just a table.
Right. Well, he has
and you can see the numbers on it, like the scaling of the table.
Yeah, so Bosch is good about putting out,
it's not like labeled like, oh, this is this sensor. Or
correct.
This.
But they have basically a flow chart that you can get. And we don't have access to it, but HP tuners, I'm 99% sure they do. And so they can go in and see kind of the flow of how the ECU works. And if I come across a limit, say a fuel pressure limit, he can say, okay, let me look and see how this is controlled. Let me look and see what else it also controls and make sure that we're not going to put something in there that's going to brick the ECU or do anything crazy. So, because then that's another thing is they would define a table. Well, sometimes the table would look wrong. And they'd have to mess with, okay, is this temperature in Kelvin this time? Is it in Celsius? Like they have to kind of decode it, because I'd pull up the table and the table would look crazy. It would have data that's like this. There's no way this actually is the correct data, and then have to break it down from there.
That's rough.
Yeah,
or even because it could be in Kelvin or even like scientific potentially, you know, because isn't there like 3 different types of?
Yeah. Well, not only that, GM sometimes will just do a number that doesn't really do anything. It's just a number. Like, so say for instance,
it's just like an obscure number.
Yeah,
of like,
basically.
oh, we just chose that this is 0.
Yeah, basically. So like the mass airflow sensor is what they call a CENT mass airflow sensor. Well, when you look at the AXI on it, it's kind of just a generic number, and it goes, 0 to, I think stock was like 16,776 or something like that. But it's not hertz. It's not.
Yeah, it doesn't correlate.
Right.
To
it's just a number. So kind of like how we do the VE tables, like in the earlier ECUs, it's just a number. We may have a VE number of 2,900, but obviously there's not an engine that's 2,900% VE. It's just a number, and obviously that higher means more. So it's same way with a lot of these. So sometimes we're looking at these units and we're like, what does this even represent?
So did you get all the tables open that you need?
I got all the tables open that I needed at the time for the power level I was shooting for.
Okay, so there's still things currently that haven't been that you would like?
Yeah, there's probably, I would say there's an update every day to every 2 days on the software to have more and more tables. And then, of course, like, now we have the Zr1X file. And so I can look at the Zr1X and I can determine what GM does with it. So I have copies of both of those. So I've even compared the Zr1X file to the Zr1, and there may be some keys in the Zr1X file to turn up the Zr1 even more. Because by the tune, it looks like the Zr1X actually makes more power, not because of the hybrid engine also, or the hybrid motor.
Like they just dialed up that engine
I think they've
more.
actually turned it up some.
Do you think they tried to do that to overcome some of the weight?
It's possible.
Because there's an extra, 250
Yeah,
pounds
it's
on that
possible,
car?
and it's also possible that because the motor's kind of the electric motor's dragging the car along faster, maybe it may spike a little bit more airflow. Who knows? I don't know the engineering side of things.
Well, it could spool the turbos very differently because there's not the same load on it.
Right.
I mean, the load's probably very different on when it's being pulled along instead of having to start at 0, really.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm curious about is when the X goes on the dyno, which I've got some that I'm going to help with, because I've probably been contacted by like 50 people at this point to help with ZR1 stuff. And so I know there's an X or two going on the dyno at some point in time, either this weekend or next week. So I don't know how it's going to react on the dyno. Because without the hybrid engine actually pulling it along,
there isn't load.
Right. Well, when we have the eddy brake, but who knows if that's going to simulate what the car actually does.
Yeah, it's not like the same load that they've seen on the street or on a dyno that's depending on the dyno too. Yeah, some dynos are more linked between the front and the rear wheel.
Oh, yeah. Especially, so if we get one on, say, an all-wheel drive Mustang dyno where it's actually linked together, that's going to simulate way better. But at this point with these cars, I don't know who owns the cars. I don't know what dynos they're on. I don't know anything about it other than guys are asking for help, and certain people I'm willing to help.
Well, it's promising that there's so many people willing to tune their cars. That's a good start.
Maybe.
But it is a good start for enthusiast and what you see for the future of the car.
Yeah.
Because I know that there was already rumblings like how many people are really going to tune their Zr1s, and it's like probably a good amount.
I mean, I would say I've been contacted by, we'll say at least 5% of the current owners of the cars on the road in total.
Yeah.
I mean, this platform is big. It's such a good car.
Well, and it makes sense too because we're talking about an ECU flashing. We're talking about a tune. We're not talking about like how many people are going to put downpipes on them, how many people are going to put intakes. Like that's an even smaller percentage. But like a tune, like a lot. Most GM, most Corvette guys have always understood like you get a tune.
Right.
Like you bare minimum you get a tune even if you don't change anything.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's like any different. I think maybe a lot of people thought that this owner was going to be like a McLaren owner that also bought a Zr1.
Yeah, just like as a collector car or something.
Yeah, or like that was the type of guy that bought it. But I think it's still just your regular Corvette guys, clearly.
It is, and they're already out racing them. We're getting draggy numbers. Like, guys are treating this Zr1 no different than they did the C6 Zr1 and the C7 Zr1. These cars are roll race monsters. They're extremely fast. And it basically is as impressive. Like, Zr1 always impresses me. Every time we get a Zr1 out, it's like, man, this is the latest and greatest thing. And then next thing you know, they bring out the next Zr1, and we're like, holy shit, can they actually make this any better? And then they do every time.
Well, the C7 Zr1 was such a quick blip. We only got it for 1 year.
Yeah, but
and then they were done.
That was a good car, though. And that's still one of my favorites.
There's a very small percentage of those that'll be very special, the manual ones.
Yep.
Like that, like 20 years from now will be extremely special still.
Yep.
But what power did you actually see from, I just so everyone knows, I avoided all the Zr1 content because I didn't want to get any.
Okay.
I do this sometimes where I read up on it and then I don't ask about it because I already know.
Yeah.
But then I just leave out information. So what kind of power did you actually see from the calibration you did?
So approximately 10% gain across the board, if we were just going to break it down that way. So down low, there was a little bit more. It was like 15% gain. So we put about 150 horsepower, so down low. We were able to.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I know.
That's a big number.
Yeah, and it's about 100 horsepower up top. The only thing is obviously with more boost, we are going to see higher intake temps, and this car is extremely sensitive to intake temp. Extremely. And so that's what's making big horsepower swings one direction or the other. And that was one thing, like even when I put out some information on it that I'm nervous about is shops that are building intakes or downpipes or whatever. If they don't put out basically a data log with the part, there's a very good chance their data is actually null and void. Because when I see like an 80 horsepower difference in like a 30-degree intake temp rise, that's pretty extreme. So even if guys were like, oh, I want to do a back-to-back pull, like there's a very good chance the car is actually going to just tank in power on that second pull. So that it's got to be careful with this one.
Yeah. Do you think that fuel could help it?
Oh, absolutely.
And do you think that, I know when you were tuning Garrett's, it wasn't on ethanol, right?
No, we were on MS-109.
Okay.
And I did that as a safety, not because I needed the MS-109, but obviously if I'm tuning on a car that, I mean, I would expect that engine's probably, what, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 if I had to guess. It's probably on up there, if you can even get it right now.
I was going to say, and how long would you wait for it?
So it's like, why would I not, if I have access to MS-109, why would I not use it? And because I got a lot of kickback on that. Guys are like, oh, well, how many Zr1 owners are actually going to run MS-109? It's like, that's not the point. The point is we're displaying what the cars can do in a safe manner. using a good fuel. You know, you're not going to build a 1,200 horsepower 2J for 93 octane. You're just not.
So, quick explanation of MS-109 versus, say, your 93.
Yeah, so MS-109 is an oxygenated race fuel. It's 109 octane. And it is so much more tolerant.
It's an ethanol-free fuel, right? Low ethanol?
I'd have to look at the data sheet. I don't think there's any ethanol in there. Okay. I think it's a pure gasoline. I think it's just oxygenated gasoline. But I know the stoic is 13.34. So in a normal gas scale, you know, gas is 14.68 air-fuel ratio with no ethanol in it. So the MS-109 uses a little bit more fuel, but it's not as drastic as going to an actual ethanol-based fuel.
Yeah.
So it was just a good mix, and also the fuel is unleaded. And so we don't have to worry about it wiping out the wide bands or anything like that. So I wanted to use the best fuel that I could, because what a lot of guys don't understand is when GM calibrates these cars on the engine dyno, they have like the most awesome fuel ever. And I have no idea what it is, but it's basically a fuel where I know they can run basically one lambda across the board at basically any power level and it's fine. Like it is some calibration grade good stuff.
It's kind of sad that GM is so like keeps all that, even Ford like keeps all that stuff so close to the chest, because like, you know, they have so much badass calibration.
Oh, I know.
Equipment, tuning software. Like, you never get a glimpse of any of it.
Yeah.
They keep that stuff so close. Like, I've never seen, like, a photo of a laptop open, like, when they did that whole track day.
Yeah.
And everything like that. And, you know, funny enough, in that track day, they had some badass coolers. Did you see what they were using for that when they did the video of the Zr1X at the track?
No, I actually never even saw that video yet.
They had a whole mobile dry ice cooler with like ducts that they were putting over everything, and it's funny, they were seeing exactly what you're talking about. Like the cooling system they had was serious. Like they had a mobile one that was pretty nice, honestly. I was like, wow.
Well, and the cooling system on the Zr1 is good, but for peak power it's kind of borderline because so this car, it's got air to water intercoolers.
Well, and it was sitting in a dyno bay,
right?
Which you can get good airflow, but you're not getting street airflow.
Right.
Same with like at the drag strip, like they made one hit and then they were trying to cool it down again. Like it's not getting real airflow.
Right. Well, here's the tricky part though is, the air to water intercoolers, they sit basically over the top of the valve covers. They go right to the throttle bodies, but they're over top the engine. There's carbon fiber everywhere. You've got, the trunk or whatever you want to call it, the engine cover that comes down. So it's hot back there.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of the times when we would do, like, say, a C7 ZR1 or C6 ZR1, the blower is easy to access. You can just throw a bag of ice on it. You can do whatever you want to do. These, it's a whole different ballgame.
Well, even C7 ZR1 guys took the carbon piece off.
Oh, yeah. Or if you're like Parker, whenever we were trying to run an 8, we just took the whole hood off and everything.
Yeah.
We don't need none of that.
Yep. I've seen a lot of, like, the carbon piece, that big hood vent off of them, which always looks kind of goofy to me because
I think it's kind of cool.
The lines that go in there always look kind of like stupid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you got like a cool like Kong lid or something like that, it's powder coated. I mean, you got to show it off.
Then that makes sense.
But I mean, you got to bring a little ricer out, A
little bit. It was just always funny. I was like, this $250,000 car, and you're like popping the hood off. What fuel would you ideally like to run it on? Ethanol?
Ethanol for sure.
C16, like the Lambo guys always did.
So Dave Steck at DSX has actually got flex fuel working on the cars. Now, it does not have the fuel system in factory form for basically any type of ethanol. I mean, if you were going maybe 20 or 30%, but at that point, it's like, why are we mixing fuel in a $250,000 car?
Yeah.
Let's just buy some MS-109, dump it in. There's no mixing. The car's more fuel efficient on MS-109 than it would be on an ethanol mix. But ideally, ethanol would be the move.
Yeah.
And the high pressure pump is what the GM guys told me they were worried about. As far as the actual fuel limitation, what I personally saw is the injectors. It needs more injector.
The
port
injector
port injectors.
Or the port injector.
Yeah. Well, technically both, but the port injectors.
You can get away with just one of them.
Correct. I mean, you could put some real gangster port injectors in there and make up for the lack of DI injector. Because I mean, realistically, anytime we try to upgrade DI injectors, I mean, there's some companies out there that build good DI injectors, but if you factor the cost and how hard it is to get drivability right on those, let's just throw some ID 1700s or 2150s or whatever in the car and send it.
Yeah, it's not worth doing the direct injectors, especially because they're probably a pain in the ass to get to.
Oh, I would say
and it's probably real easy to get to the port injector is probably right there.
I mean, I would assume so.
I would think. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I didn't work on the car at all. I looked down to try to get an idea where the spark plugs were at, and I was like, no, we're just going to leave those right where they're at.
Are they not like at least a Coyote? I mean, I guess also there's an air-to-water intake.
Yeah.
Air-to-water intercooler
Yeah,
right
so I mean,
there.
it's basically, it's twin everything. It's literally 2 4-cylinders at that point. It's, the intake manifold is split, the throttle bodies are split, the intercoolers are split. So I have no idea what it's going to take.
Well, C7s or C8s already suck to work on because they're like,
right.
They like put it in this hole.
Yeah.
It was almost like after the sinkhole, they were like, hey, we can actually build our cars with a sinkhole.
Yeah.
And then everybody has to lay over them. The only thing that was easy was like the O2s on the original ones were like sticking up. And it's like, okay, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's kind of funny that they built a Corvette where you basically have to use like a truck creeper to actually work on the thing just to get over the back end of it. But,
yeah, because like the back is so long. It's so far in there. And then the sides, there's like a whole roof and everything. Yeah. It's funny, too, seeing a car that everybody started building the twin turbo kits for and then also come out with turbos of their own. Like, it's just not... You don't see that often. Like, you don't see that in like the R8 world.
Yeah.
Like the Mustangs don't have turbos. Like, it's funny that the aftermarket beat them to it.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
And and then OEM obviously does it so differently.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about, I will tell you, when it comes to how the heat exchangers are laid out, is the lines are facing the correct orientation, where that useless trunk that you have in the back, perfect spot for an icebox. So I'm hoping somebody just immediately tries to drop an icebox for that thing. Because I'm telling you, on a stock car, it'd probably pick up 2 or 3 tenths in the quarter mile just off of just cooling the intake temps down alone.
Yeah.
It's that kind of drastic.
Really? Mm-hmm. Can you kind of quantify that a little bit for us? Like what we're seeing on air intakes and like what the difference is? I know you're talking like 1 degree is X horsepower.
Yeah, so roughly, when we're down like 50 or 60 degree intake temp, it's almost 3 horsepower per degree of intake temp increase. And then as you go up, it starts to taper off a little bit. So once you get to right around 115 degrees or so is where it starts to, it doesn't take as much power away, but it's all in the ECU control. This car, it's like GM tuned it to be like a half-mile or 1-mile car. I mean, there's so many safeties in this ECU, and it's even more extreme than what we originally thought. Like, apparently, I haven't dug too much into the options on the Zr1s, but apparently there's going to be an active aero car. And the active aero car, basically like the layout of the ECU would be, you have your driver demand table, which is, when you push your accelerator pedal down, you're asking for X amount of torque. The very first thing it goes down line to is going to be your active aero. So your wing position is going to dictate how much torque you're actually getting to the tires, because it's using it for traction control. Then it goes to the rest of the processing system.
Rough.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to like tune through the wing.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder what's going to happen if you have an active aero car and you decide you want to take your wing off.
Yeah.
Is the car going to go into limp mode? Like, we don't know yet.
Is there going to be some kind of setting, or because a lot of people take the wings off then.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, just to try. I mean, Brooks at Drag Times took his off right away, and it picked up like 4 tenths or something crazy.
Yep.
Just shows how aggressive and how useful that wing actually is.
Yeah, and maybe they'll have a drag mode for the active aero wing to where maybe it'll just lay flat and it won't be as big of a deal. We don't know, but I don't even know if they've released that information for the Zr1X. I don't know if that's the car that's getting active aero, but there's active aero in the ECU ready to control torque. So one of the cars if it's not already out, one of the cars coming up soon is going to have that.
It almost makes you wonder, like, do they even need it? The car's already so impressive.
It's nuts.
It's kind of silly that you can imagine there's going to be, like, another step up that GM has in their back pocket. And I've been saying that with this car, that they're almost, like, gone too far with packages at this point.
Yeah.
There's
you talking about like options, or you talking what do you
like actual cars? Like the base, the Z06, the E-Ray, the Zr1, the Zr1X.
There's another one about to drop.
The Grand Sport's about to drop with a different engine, and
possibly a different transmission.
And then they're talking another potentially more special car.
Yep.
I think it's just because they don't have a C9, so they're like, just
let's just give them everything that they've ever asked
for. Keep it rolling.
Yeah.
I mean, if they come out with a manual, I think that'll be the most special car that they could come out with. But it's really hard to imagine.
I'm pretty sure it's coming.
In the Grand Sport?
I'm pretty sure it's coming. I may have been told by a little birdie.
Man. That'll be the only C8, in my opinion, that's going to be special in 20 years.
Yeah, and then think about if they bring back out the manual in the Grand Sport, they've got to have a forced induction version of it with a manual. We may have the ultimate roll race car coming up pretty soon.
I know they were talking about that LS6, which is going to be like a big 6.6 liter push rod engine, which will be kind of interesting. An aluminum block, assumingly. I don't think it's going to be like the iron 6.6 in the back of that thing, unless they really wanted some weight back there.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting package.
Mm-hmm. It will be. And I will tell you, it's already built, and the information's about to be out really soon. Like they're already kind of driving it kind of soon. So I'm ready for it.
Speaking of transmissions, how much faith do you have in the...
So this is the big question that a lot of guys ask, because the C8 obviously needs some help in the transmission department. And the Zr1s that have been tuned with the JB4 software, which is the piggyback software, are having some transmission problems. The actual factory limit in the ECU is 1,500 Newton meters, which is like, I don't know, 1,275 foot-pounds of torque. It's up there.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of faith in it currently. I'm not sure how it's going to react with drag tires on it, like actual drag pack, beadlocks and all.
Yeah.
But right now, there's no slippage.
Well, because the C8s, the base models, didn't do so hot at times with drag racing and with their transmissions in general. And these aren't necessarily different transmissions, but they are beefed up.
They are beefed up.
Like everything's bigger, but it's not necessarily different.
Right. And the thing
Does it have the clamping power on the clutches?
Well, the key to that is keeping your torque model accurate, because GM takes airflow, they turn that airflow number into torque, and then they turn that torque actually into like clutch pressure. So if you lie to it about its torque, it doesn't know what to do about its, the clutch slip and the pressure. That was a big issue with the Stingray itself, is when they did the C8 Stingray, is guys, before they had tuning, were putting turbos on and trying to manipulate the ECU the best they could, but the car didn't understand the torque that it had. And there's still some guys out there that kind of lie to it. But if you tell it the truth, even the C8 Stingray has a pretty good trans. It's better than what a lot of guys give it credit for, put it that way.
Yeah. Well, like, speaking of the JB4 stuff, Rashawn down at Boost District, a friend of mine, he's helped on a bunch of cars. Like, I heard their car make a pass the other day in a video, and like the trans sounded very unhappy.
Correct.
And I know they're just on the JB4, so they can only do so much.
Right.
I don't know how much, but less.
Well, the good thing about the JB4 is, according to the car just thinks it's stock. But that's also the downside. So it's like we have pluses and minuses to that combo. And that was why we focused so hard on trying to get the tune done on this thing, is we don't want people to be destroying however expensive these transmissions are also. We don't know anything about anything on this car at this point. They just got dropped. Like, we didn't even know the ZR1X was actually being delivered until like last week.
I can't believe they delivered them like on top of each other.
I know, that was crazy.
They almost gave no breathing room for the ZR1.
Yeah, and I feel like that actually is what killed the resale on the ZR1, because there's a lot of ZR1s that aren't selling quickly, and because everybody wants the ZR1X. Because at that point, I mean, if you can afford a ZR1, you can probably afford an X also.
Well, they hit a big markup at a lot of dealers, and then almost immediately those dealers kind of got screwed by... I think the Corvette Museum should be able to go direct to consumer anyways.
Yeah. Kind of like a Tesla thing or something.
Yeah, because like, especially if you go there and pick it up.
Yeah.
Why even got to deal with a dealer?
Yeah.
It's like insane. Yeah. It's like, can't I just call up and be like, or go there and order one?
Like Cleet's car actually sat outside for like 2 or 3 weeks before he was actually even allowed to get it.
Just
sitting outside.
There. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
Just like when you go pick it up, it's inside the museum. But no, there's a bunch of them just sitting outside.
I mean, they ship them outside, so it is what it is. It's just a Corvette.
Yeah, yeah.
In the end of the day, they are just Corvettes. Even the ZR1X, like, they didn't really distinguish it from the ZR1. Like, it looks the same.
It does, yeah.
It just says the X on the side.
Yeah.
But And those cars are even funny too because they don't even have any front trunk. Like they've really stripped those ones out a bit.
Yeah.
All the Zr1s.
Yeah. I don't know. I like it though. And I'll tell you, even after being around that Yesco, like I'd still rather have the C8 Zr1 over the Yesco. Just saying.
Yeah, I think that's a crazy sentiment, but it seems to be true.
Well, okay, if you took the value of the car out of it.
Yeah,
if it was actual car
you had to
versus
own this
car.
for the next 50 years.
Correct.
Like this, like you can never sell it.
Right. I would take the C8 Zr1.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, they're just that good.
They
What
are.
What do they call the engine in that? The
LT7.
LT7.
Yeah, so it's LT6, which is the natural aspirated version of the Z06, and then LT7.
What were you able to do anything with cams on that?
I don't recommend anybody touch the cam position. So if you're tuning on one of these cars, I'm going to tell you right now, they are heavily controlling compression ratio with the VVT. And that is one of the reasons why these cars can take so much boost down low and they have those big, massive torque spikes. I have a feeling if somebody tries to move VVT even the slightest bit, especially the mid-range, I think it's going to be bad news, at least on pump gas.
Yeah.
Maybe on ethanol, it'd probably be cool, but on pump gas, I think they got to be careful with it.
Interesting. So they're controlling the compression with the cams.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you imagine like a Coyote tuner step in and be like, oh, yeah.
I've talked to a couple of Coyote tuners that maybe happen to be stepping into them.
Well, because they control cams every day.
Yeah.
That's like their thing. That's
Yeah.
how the Coyotes are so great.
Yeah.
Is because they can control the cam tuning a little bit. So when we saw 4 cams on the C8, people were like, oh, I'll be able to do the same thing.
Yeah. The crazy part is I was told by Chevrolet that engine has been tested to 9,200 RPM safely. The LT7. I didn't ask them about the LT6, but
Yeah.
LT7 specifically has been to 9,200 safely.
I mean, that would make sense because the dual overhead cam stuff. The LT6, or the LS6 or whatever, the LT6 is too, like the push rod stuff I can.
Well, the LT6 is the it's still
Oh,
the
yeah,
same
that's the
5.5.
Z06,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just the natural aspirated version.
Which, I mean, it'd probably make it there. Right? I mean, that'd be cool to see 9,600 RPM out of a Z06. It'd probably sound pretty awesome.
Yeah. I'm not doing it. Like,
What if somebody's like, hey, let's do it?
I'm not doing it.
What? You don't want to. You don't want to be responsible for blowing one up.
No. You've seen the GM engine quality here lately. Like,
Yeah, but if it's made at 2,000 miles, it's fine. It's that first 2,000 that's really test these GM engines.
I'll let all these other guys go out and break it. Like, I wanted to do it in an OEM fashion.
Yeah.
Try to make the car as bulletproof as possible. Maybe later on down the road it'll get turned up a bunch and I'll be told to pin the gate and we'll see what it's got. I actually have a little birdie that technically has an LT7 ready to go for $5,000. Wow. So, yeah. That same little birdie too.
Wow.
Yeah. So we may get into doing some crazy stuff with it. I don't know yet. I mean, as well as I do, when Cleet wakes up in the morning, if he needs to make content and he wants to do something cool, like we're just going to do it.
Yeah, I wonder about how heavy on the gas he'll be on pushing that car if it matters to him that much.
I'll tell you that he basically wanted me just to go in and pin the gate and send it, and I just had to have some backbone with
Wrong
him.
guy type of
brother,
thing.
let's chill just a little bit.
Well, I made the post on Facebook, like, who's going to blow up a Zr1? Like, who's going to be the first to do it, and are they going to go public with it?
Probably not.
It depends on who does it.
That will spread like wildfire if it does. It wouldn't surprise me if some of these guys that are going to be tuning on the Zr1s don't have their customers sign NDAs beforehand.
Everybody thought in my post I was talking about Garrett, too. I was like, of course Garrett would talk about it.
Yeah, he would.
If he did it.
Oh, that'd be his biggest video of the year, probably.
But I just know all of these tuner shops out there that are gonna try to. They advertise almost like tax accountants too. Like you see those signs on the side that are like, "I'll get you 7,500 back guaranteed,"
Yeah.
or like, "I'll get you more on your return than the next guy guaranteed."
Yeah.
And it's like, once you start trying to guarantee like a gain of horsepower over someone else, that's when you're kind of going down the rabbit hole of you're probably gonna blow some shit up.
Yeah. And at this point, like, we didn't do this to race dynos. We did this to prove a point of the car's capable of making more power. And to me, it would almost kind of be dumb for me to go out, even if I had access to all the tables at that time, say the car was capable of 1,400 horsepower, if I just did that, take the car out, car runs an 860, we put it up, like that's kind of a waste of content, you know? Let's ease her up a little bit. Let everybody else kind of catch up with us.
Yeah, but let's see a 7. Come on.
I think the X has it in it. I really do.
I think by seeing an 850 on the 20s, the 20-inch wheel and tire setup, you got to think that it's got at least a bottom 8.
Well, I've seen guys struggling so far. Like, it's really DA dependent. And the Zr1X that I saw run, I think it went like a 905 or 906. But that was in the heat. DA was not the greatest. I think it may take, some New England kind of weather to get it done. But I think it'd be cool to have essentially factory car run a 7 with maybe just a tune and some downpipes and maybe a set of intakes or something in an ice box, just basic stuff.
Yeah, I know. Everybody's always like, oh, it's not stock anymore. It's like, yeah, but there's like a level to it, Like, if it's like an unopened factory turbos, you did the cooling mods and fueling mods, like, that's fine. But, like, we're talking a very factory acting car.
Especially if it will do it on stock turbos.
Yeah.
That's going to be the incredible thing.
Where were you feeling on how far those turbos are to maxed out? They're fairly big turbos.
Well, that's an answer that is actually, I have yet to determine if they are actually that big. So,
because I've heard they're 76s, but also like they're 58s.
I've heard 58s and 76s. So I don't know. I will tell you that I got roughly like 61, 62 pound per minute of airflow out of each turbo. So I got roughly 1,200 horsepower out of each turbo. I will tell you that the throttle was never 100% open even up top. And then I probably had another 6,000 or 7,000 RPM of turbo speed that I could go before I started to feel kind of questionable about things. So we ended up at like 137,000 RPM of turbo shaft speed. I think 142 is going to be about that number because we had some of the best brains behind us, and I was actually even able to talk to one of the heads of Chevrolet at the Daytona 500 a couple weeks ago and was asking him questions about this specific car. And which I will tell you, they weren't real happy about the whole I avoided the warranty on my brand new Zr1 video, but they liked the exposure too. Yeah. But it was kind of cool being able to talk to one of the actual bigwigs of Chevrolet and be like, what did you think about this? Because I flat out looked at him too. I was like, is the warranty actually void? Like, is it, it's Cletus McFarland. Like, are we really going to void this warranty? He's like, absolutely. He's like, he did it too publicly. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So now.
Once it's voided, it doesn't even matter anymore.
Well, sometimes you just got to ask, see if maybe there's like a gray area there, But he gave me a straight up answer. So, yeah.
That is a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. So, but I was told that they have blown up the turbos at 150,000 RPM. I don't know. That could be sustained load for 10 hours. I have no idea. I didn't get anything else other than they have blown at 150,000
Because that's what people have to recognize about these OEMs. They'll do it in every condition for multiple hours.
Well, it's kind of like a tire speed rating, like a 186 mile an hour tire speed rating. I think it's like an hour that it can sustain that before it actually starts to fail. So I don't know how hard they were on these turbos, but I do know that I was told that they do break at 150,000 RPM. So I'm thinking 142,000 RPM. I personally think the car's probably got 1,300 wheel in it.
Now, you're talking all like the actual ways, but like what boost was it making?
I
know that doesn't really matter.
Oh, it kind of does. So the reason why I think the VVT, the variable cam timing, is going to be so critical is they come in at 27 pounds of boost on tip in. So like 4,100, 4,200 RPM, it's 27 pounds of boost from the factory.
Wow.
They fall off to like 17. I did not want to increase low end torque any more than necessary. So I saw roughly 29 pounds in the bottom end, and I tapered it up to 22 pounds of boost. So we still have like a 7 PSI fall off, but we're also moving a lot of airflow at that point.
Yeah.
And that's why the power curve just looks like it does. And so I think I can get it to stand up more, but I wanted to maintain the thermal protection of the car because there may be some other activities that are going to be done with this car where we may need to make sure turbos and exhaust manifolds stay cool for extended periods of time, put it that way.
Man, you're the right guy to tune this for Garrett, but he must hate you.
He does. Yeah.
he knows in the back of his mind you're the right guy to tune it, but he also at the same time is probably like, come on.
Here's the thing I will say. The 1180 horsepower still broke the internet enough
100%
to do the job. Now, would 1280 horsepower have broke it even more? Probably.
Yeah, it's marginal.
Yeah.
You know, unless it was 15, I think the broken of the internet isn't going to be that crazy more.
But I will say for sure that if somebody could put enough turbo on this car, it will be a very big horsepower car.
Well, that's kind of the next question is there going to be enough of these cars to warrant an aftermarket, like a real aftermarket? Well, because you think about like GTRs, and there's a billion different turbo manufacturers that make, you know, stock housing size turbo upgrades and things like that, and cooling upgrades and like everything like that. But the Zr1 is going to be so niche.
But is it though? Because I mean, you got to think there's like McLaren 765s. There's quite a few that dollar amount cars with roughly that production number that people like to mod them. You know, so
that is true.
I think so. I think the car is going to be bigger than a lot of people give it credit for.
That is true. I definitely, I can see on the enthusiast side, it's going to be really big, but I just wonder if there's going to be enough.
I think if there was going to be anything that stopped it in its tracks, I think it's going to be when somebody finds the limit of that transmission. I think if the transmission continues to be where it can't be unlocked and clutches start slipping at, say, 1300 wheel or something like that with tuning, maybe they'll
there's
stop.
Just no solve. Like people try to solve it with clutch packs and stuff, and it just can't happen because it's locked.
Right.
So like the trans being locked is going to be such a difficult thing to overcome.
Yeah, well, it's like on the Stingray, right? That's when they were new, what, $80,000 car, $70,000 car. To me, to try to upgrade the trans at that dollar amount of car is not as big of a deal as if you got a $250,000 car and then you want to do some experimental stuff with the trans. Like I don't know. I mean, you know, I've got buddies of mine that, you know, push the C7 Zr1 to bottom 8s, and those cars are worth $300,000 depending on color and mods and everything else. Like,
well, the interesting thing is too is it almost requires a different aftermarket than all the other GM products.
I would say so.
Because like you're talking, it puts it into that like McLaren and like GTR level.
Kind of like, like European kind of like
the guys that upgrade the turbos.
Yeah, like the pure turbos like on the BMWs and things like that. I could see something like that happening.
Because like those guys aren't involved in any other GM product.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know what it's going to take to even do an aftermarket turbo on this car. Because I mean, like I said, there's turbo shaft speed. I believe they're liquid cooled also. I know the wastegates are electronic. So there's enough technology on it. It's like it may just be a car that somebody will just build like a billet wheel and upgraded compressor for. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know.
Like it might be the same turbo, just an upgraded.
Yeah, very possible.
Upgraded turbo, like a lot of the European stuff has kind of done.
Yeah.
It's less complex to just do a billet wheel, like you're saying.
Yeah. But the hardest part for me was I had nobody to call and talk to and ask. I've always, you know, usually every time something new would come out, usually there was somebody else that knew a little bit more. We didn't know who to talk to.
Yeah.
You know, we had a calibration engineer from GM that was trying to give us hints. That's kind of
what I was talking about before we started of like, I feel like GM knows they want to leave breadcrumbs for you guys because like they know that it's good for marketing and it's good for the growth of GM, but they just can't for liability and like legal reasons.
Yeah.
So I just like imagine there's like shady meetings in parking garages of like
there could be. That's like the guy may not even be a GM calibration engineer. He may be like an emissions calibration engineer. Like I didn't get to talk to him.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is. I don't know if he actually works at GM. I mean, he could work for Bosch, but I was just told like this guy was kind of involved in this car and he's going to give us some ideas as to where to go. And then
if he knows anything, let us know.
And honestly, like that night that we actually sent him a data log, and I don't think he gave us any more information than we already had. It was just kind of a weird deal, but that was about all. Who else do we call? Nobody really knows. You'd call a dealership right now and say, "Hey, what size turbos on this thing?" Or you ask them any questions, they don't know.
Yeah,
they just know whatever the brochure says. So I can reference the brochure. I need somebody with some actual information. So we were digging through patents, and the patent route is where it starts to get difficult because there's so many patents involved in this car, but they may be a patent from like 2012. So we got to figure out like what's relevant, what's not relevant. Like, wow. So I mean, every night, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm just going through scouring patents, trying to figure out like, hey, what is actually in control here? Mm-hmm. And
the nature of GM is, like you're saying, they use Bosch parts mm-hmm. that are German built potentially, and like sensors are built in Germany, and then they use wiring that's from who knows where, and like they're the outsource kings mm-hmm. of everything. So like same with Ford, they buy things from everywhere they can instead of making it all in-house. So mm-hmm. everything's like mixed. So GM might not even know some things.
Right. Well, I mean, this ECU, like I said, it's been used in a Can-Am X3. It's been used in European cars. So,
but how many other modules are talking to it?
Yeah, I don't know. And that's going to be the even crazier part is I don't know what's talking to what. So I think the aftermarket's going to start struggling more and more on these cars because there's so many modules. Everything's CAN or LIN or whatever all the cars are on now, and it's wild.
That's what I mean. Like, is there a module that's by the wheel speeds that's going to have to connect to this, to that?
Oh, I'm sure.
On the Zr1Xs and like all kinds of just like, there's just going to be, it's going to be a headache.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, like, do we even know how to dyno the Zr1X in rear-wheel drive? I have purposely not looked at videos. There may be somebody that's dynoed it so far, but I mean, how's the hybrid system going to act? Is there a dyno mode? Is there a diag mode? Like, I don't.
Well, then the other question is, is it worth just doing the plug and play route?
Yeah.
Like
the JB4 kind of thing?
No, like a plug and play Motec.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Well, that's what they do in the R8s.
I know.
They don't rewire the cars.
Right.
They just have plug and play systems.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know enough about that version of the technology. I don't understand CAN addressing. I don't do the binary stuff in the newer stuff. Like, I know how to get into like an A2L and find some tables. I'm very limited at that. To me, I was always the diagnostics guy, the guy that's patient, that doesn't mind doing research and stuff like that. So there's going to be guys that know way more about that type of tuning or what's necessary than me, but it's a lot, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody has to go through the punishment.
Yeah.
But I don't know of other platforms that have gone through this punishment is the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe the R8 guys, but I don't think they had it as hard.
Well, the good thing is
maybe the BMW stuff, because I hear the BMW stuff has a ton of tables.
Well, there's some BMWs that run the same ECU as the Zr1, so it is possible that the Zr1 is going to advance the BMW stuff. I don't know that. It just makes the next logical sense.
Yeah, that they'll learn something from both platforms. Yeah, because I've heard that there's so many tables in the BMW side of things.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just the nature of...
Yes, I mean, it'd be cool to have a BMW where you don't have to use like a JB4 or something like that, where you could actually get in there and tune it, and make everything happy. I don't know.
Is HP tuners connected with them? Do they tune the BMWs?
Not that I'm aware of.
But that's funny if it's the same ECU.
Well, but that's what I'm kind of hoping for. I'm hoping that the Zr1 is going to progress HP tuners into doing that.
It seems so crazy that they wouldn't. It's such a big market.
Right. Well, then I think once they're in BMWs, could open up Lambos. Could open up. I mean, anything with Bosch that, because HP Tuner supports the Mercedes Benz, but to me it's like, I know some people think it's a cool car. I'm sure it has cool car features, but I think the BMWs, the Lambos, those are going to be the cars that really set off the European HP Tuners market.
Well, what's funny too is they all use Bosch, but like Bosch has been having a couple hard years. Like they've laid off like thousands of people in Germany, and like they're kind of struggling as a company a little bit.
Are they? I don't dig into that stuff.
Like that side of things. Like I've only heard bad news from Bosch Electronics.
Yeah.
on a lot of things, but they make like every sensor.
Mm-hmm. Well, they also make like everything. Like I'm pretty sure I have a hammer drill that's Bosch. You know?
Yeah.
So,
I know it's like
kind of like General Electric or something.
I'm gonna dig into Bosch a little bit more and see where they're at. Maybe it was just their German side of things that was struggling, but yeah, it'd be cool to see HP tuners get into that side of it. I'm so worried about the transmissions, man. Yeah. It's going to be the Achilles heel of these cars.
Yeah, and see, I'm curious about the Z06 strength because there is a guy that made 1185 in a Z06, like, you know, with his twin turbo kit. Now, torque was way less. It was like 785 foot-pounds of torque, 790 foot-pounds of torque or whatever, but I'm curious, do they have the same transmission? Do they have the same clutch as the ZR1? Can they take the abuse? Like, I'm anxious to see what the Z06 does. I think that's going to be the coolest car because I think that car is going to be so much easier to tune, being factory naturally aspirated, that tuning shops are going to adapt quickly to the Z06 versus the ZR1. Because that whole extra layer of turbo stuff and GM logic really complicates tuning it.
Yeah. Do you think that we're going to see people putting the ZR1 turbos on?
Oh, I have no idea.
I wonder if people will be able to, like, get a Z06 and buy some parts.
Maybe.
To turbo.
I mean, at that point, though, I feel like if it was mine, I feel like I would just rather just put twin precisions on it and no liquid cooling and just do normal hot rod turbo kit versus dealing with all the intricacy of electronic gates and
all the
turbo
OEM
shaft speed. And
kind of doesn't make sense.
But I'm sure that there's somebody out there that could program all that stuff to work, or you could use operating system from a ZR1. I mean, it's possible.
Make a fake ZR1. Yeah, it's probably not even worth doing all that because there's so many turbo kits and the aftermarket stuff's so easy to put on. There's so much space back there on a Corvette.
But I think the Z06 is going to be the car that we see the most progression on, just because of it's going to be easier to tune.
And they're more readily available.
Right.
I've already seen like way more people in the aftermarket side tuning on the Z06s for customers like Cortez and like people like that already like trying to push the Z06 platform.
Are they already? The C8?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen a couple of them like at the track with it and like actually trying to like, you know, make that platform happen because, you know, those guys they own shops. They want to offer tuning on that stuff, and I'm sure they get calls all the time, even before it was unlocked, of like, hey, can we get my Z06? Even just upping the rev limiter is cool on that.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be. I've got a buddy of mine that has been wanting his rev limiter raised and flex fuel for a very long time. And so that's probably, I think that's going to be something really cool for those, is the higher rev limiter.
Yeah, so how much horsepower you think, you probably got more fuel system, how much horsepower with just ethanol?
Probably 40, 50 wheel if I had to guess.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome on that car. I mean, what do they make, 500?
Almost? I have no idea. I haven't dynoed one yet. Like, I got thrown into this whole C8 thing. Like, I've messed with the C8 Stingray, but I didn't know anything about any of it. And it's just, but they just knew that, you know, I'm patient and I don't mind working on a brand new platform in front of 5 million people. Like, it doesn't bother me. So I just do it.
Well, most people didn't really care for the C8 until the ZR1 came out.
Yeah.
Most people kind of were just like, eh.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. Like, even, you know, Garrett's Blackwing. Like, that car's cooler than C8s.
That car has gotten more attention than anything. I cannot believe how much attention that Blackwing gets. It's nuts. Like, people were going crazy over the whole Drift Blackwing build.
And they look like a Honda Civic, which is crazy.
Oh, so you don't like it?
No.
You're not a fan of the Blackwing?
I love the Blackwing.
Yeah.
I just think that they're boring looking. I think that the progression of the V lineup, like, went tame.
Okay.
There's, like, very few vents. There's very few carbon. There's, like, factory appearing.
Yeah.
Like, it's very bubbly. It's very, like, curved edges. All the other ones are very hard edged.
Yeah.
And it just, like, as much as I love that car, the features, the drivetrain, the looks wise, it just was not as aggressive as I would want it to be. They tamed it down.
I think they did a little bit better with the Blackwing versus the V3. Like, the V3, the back end of it to me almost looked like a DeVille, you know, like a old Cadillac. But I think the Blackwing is a little bit better. But
it is cool. It is cool. It just was almost tamed down too much. Like, you look at what Chevy does with, like, the ZR1s and how aggressive, like, canards and splitters and, like, wing and all this. And then it's like, can we get like a ZTK pack
Yeah.
on the Blackwing? Can we
Yeah.
get like
That'd be sick.
you know what I mean? Like a little bit more. Like
Yeah.
let's just like you're making it $120,000. Let's make it like look more like a track package car. But otherwise, I love that car.
Yeah. No, that's actually a really good idea. I hope they do that.
That's
like
what
big wing and canards on a Blackwing. Like that needs to happen.
like a ZR1 style ZTK Blackwing.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Chevy won't do it though, and it's like their only stick shift car.
I mean, but we got like 12 different iterations of the Corvette coming, so maybe
It's like their only stick shift GM car. They don't even make any other sedans.
yeah.
That's like the only sedan GM makes. That and the CT4.
Yeah.
And even those, like, the Blackwing was like an afterthought.
Yeah.
Like, they had to make it because the V6 was so abysmal.
Yeah. And see, I thought for the longest time they were stopping the LT4/5, whatever they want to call it. I thought that was just done in the CTS platform completely. I thought it was just going to be the V6 car, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Oh, we're going to bring this back out again." And it's like that's kind of cool, but they need to progress on it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's kind of like the Dodge thing where they were like, maybe we need to stop putting Hellcats and stuff, and then now they're like, no, let's just go on and keep putting Hellcats and stuff.
Well, it makes you wonder on all the OEMs. They've all had their current engines for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Are they developing something new? If they're not currently developing something new, then they're really all behind the eight ball because, I mean, how long has the LT been out?
Yeah.
The LT1's been out for, since 2014,
Yes.
2013?
Yeah, 2014.
Like, we're going on a long time now. Like, it's time for an iteration. Like, the Coyote's been out a long time.
Well, but you have to remember,
the Hemi's been out since the dawn of time.
Well, the LT6 and LT7, though, is a completely different ballgame.
Yeah.
I mean, the engine is, there's nothing alike. Like, the LT7 and LT6 is basically a better version of a Coyote, honestly. And it may be bold for me to say, but I'm telling you, it is that good. And what I would love to see is an LT6 with a manual.
I think all of us want to see that.
Yeah.
I think that's what GM is dying for. But unfortunately, I worry that they'll bring it out as their like last hurrah of the Corvette.
And then kill it?
Yeah.
You're wishing it dies?
I don't wish it dies. I just think that they're going to kill it. I think that they're going to let it die.
That's very possible.
I think they let the Camaro go.
Yeah.
I think Ford is struggling to sell Mustangs.
Yeah.
Dodge is done with the Hellcat.
Yeah. Well, I will say
the writing's on the wall a little bit.
The Charger's cool. And then, it's hideous.
It's huge.
Yeah, but it's a cool car and it's fast.
It's like an SUV-sized vehicle.
That little Hurricane engine's pretty rowdy.
Yeah. But they go down the same route of overload people on options. Like you can either get an electric, you can get a Hurricane, you can get a Hellcat, you can get a 5.7. Like they're obviously going to add that eventually.
Yeah.
They haven't fully added it yet, but they do the same thing. How many engine options are you going to put in one car?
Yeah.
But all of them, what are we going to see a new iteration of? Because the LT6 are very different, but that's not what's going in a truck. That's not like their everything lineup engine.
Well, I will tell you the good news with them unlocking this Bosch ECU in the Zr1 is I also had a birdie tell me that this ECU is here to stay for a long time in Chevrolet in general. So even if they don't go to like the LT6 architecture in a truck, I think we're going to see the ECU in a truck. I think Global B is going to be kind of one of those like here and gone kind of things pretty soon.
Really? You think they're pretty much out on Global B?
It's what it seems like.
What was that, 5 years? 6 years?
I don't even know. Well, 2022 and a half is when Global B come out in the trucks.
Huh.
Yeah.
So there's going to be this like short window of like, don't buy those.
I don't think it was bad. I just think it's just they're heavily transitioning over. And I don't know the reasoning why.
And what do you call this one then?
It's considered an E68.
Yeah.
It's a Bosch MG1 computer is what
I guess what are people going to like
it.
call it
I don't
as
know.
we transition out of like, it won't be Global B anymore.
They'll probably call it like a Gen 6 or something.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I was told that this ECU is going to be around for a long time.
Why do you think they phased out Global B then?
I don't know. I mean, It honestly could be something as simple as maybe the Bosch ECU has better wideband control, or maybe it's cheaper. I don't know.
What was Global B on? What ECU was that? Wasn't it still a Bosch?
I don't know if that's actually even considered, honestly.
It's just confusing because like GM must have spent a lot of money
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. Like
And now they spent a lot more money to switch.
Yeah, like there's a lot smarter people to ask when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't know. I just tune them.
Yeah.
And so it's been a minute since I've actually held a Global B ECU in my hand. Yeah.
It's just so odd to do that.
Yeah.
Like OEMs, they do such weird things.
They do.
And is it to pinch pennies?
Maybe. It also may be, according to the guy I was talking to at the Daytona 500, I was told that the ECUs aren't locked for like the emission side of things. Like they didn't do it on purpose to like keep the aftermarket away when it comes to like big companies. He literally told me they just wanted to keep the shade tree mechanics from blowing up their vehicles. Because I figured there was some deeper reason as to why they did all this stuff. And they're like, no, like people were literally tuning these things or modifying these things. And then when they broke, they would take them to the dealership, ask for a new engine, and we had to deny their warranty, obviously. And yeah. I mean, I got a bunch of good information out of them, but it's like they kind of tiptoe around stuff, but you kind of read between the lines. But,
yeah, at some point they're like, I need my lawyer present now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, but I mean, like I said, the ECU architecture change, it could be something as far as just how it communicates with other modules. It may be that Global B lacks in some type of form of communication, and again, that's over my head.
Yeah, I would love to know why they switched. Well, because they went to it originally when they already had a different ECU that was presumably working on that engine already.
Yeah.
But I guess it just didn't have the growth potential or something. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they just needed it for the Zr1. Maybe it just didn't have enough horsepower.
And
Global B just didn't have the ass
very
to
possible
power the whatever it may be, the spark or something like that.
And I will say that this is one thing that I thought was really cool is when we started tuning on Global A and Global B, the data coming out of the ECU is very slow. And I don't know if that was a HP Tuners thing, I don't know. But I'm telling you, the data logging on the Zr1 is beautiful. Like, super fast, everything's working good. So you may be onto something. I mean, it may be the speed of the computer itself as far as outputs go.
Well, the diesel guys have always sworn by the Bosch ECU.
Bosch has been out in those since, 2001, I think?
That's always been, like, the expensive, nice go-to for the diesel guys. Yeah. It's like, get the Bosch stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even the factory Duramax stuff was Bosch. It wasn't like the cool one like what Wyatt's got or anything like that.
Like the fancy aftermarket Bosch or aftermarket-ish Bosch. But yeah, it's interesting to know that they are on that same level. Huh.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You think they're going to pivot to a C9 soon enough?
I don't know. I think the C8's going to be around for a little bit personally.
It's been so long.
It's a good car.
It's just been so long.
Think about how long it took for them. For the longest time, guys were like, there's never going to be a mid-engine Corvette. And then at least they did come out with one.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys still hate the mid-engine stuff, but I will tell you right now.
But that launched in 2019. That's so long ago, the C8.
Yeah.
It's so long ago. There's so many C8 owners that are itching to buy the next thing.
I think most C8 owners are mad about the resale value.
Yeah.
Like on the Stingray side of things. Because that's one thing that sucks about when the Z06 and the Zr1 come out is it tanked the value for the base. So.
But they should have saw that coming. That's crazy.
That's true. That is true.
That's insane that they would think that it wasn't going to happen like that. But they are pretty cheap now. They're like 40s.
Yeah.
They're like in the low 40s for like a nice base model C8. But I think I'd rather have a base model C7 than a base model C8.
Yeah, I probably would too.
Like a manual C7.
Yeah.
I think they look a little nicer, and I think that comparing base to base, I just don't think that the C8 kind of tickles it enough. Even if you're like, oh, I'm going to pro charge it or something like that, I still think that it's just like, meh.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to see what everybody else thinks when you ride in a ZR1. The fact, like when you do a dig launch on asphalt, unprepped on the stock tires, and you go off launch control and you just let go of it and it just goes. I think it really justifies the mid-engine C8 platform. Like it is
For sure.
It's everything that car needed to be.
I mean, hooking that much power in that cart is nutty.
Yeah.
It's really impressive. Like I saw one of your clips of it just like working on asphalt, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah, and that car, even on a prepped surface, we didn't see over 40% throttle until after 70 miles an hour. Like it was heavily controlling torque. But the fact that it was doing it and doing it as fast as it was is incredible to me. But that's the problem is you can dial it in yourself on the you got there's like a little screen over on the left-hand side of the steering wheel. And so you can turn it off and it will just annihilate tires. Another thing we found out is those Cup 2s on that Zr1, right around 50% tread, they no longer seem to hook anymore.
Yeah.
That car will black track for 500 feet now.
That kind of sucks too because they're pretty expensive tires.
They are. Yeah, so it's already got another set of tires going on it.
Yeah. I mean, probably not Michelin.
No, it's getting the same tires on it.
Same Michelins?
Yeah, but there's going to be a drag pack also.
Yeah, that makes more sense. So. That car is cool. I mean, it'll be nice. I was actually laughing today when I was doing some writing talking about Corvettes with you, and I was like, oh, C9, and I was like, oh, are they going to have a C10? Yeah. That one doesn't make sense at all.
That would be hilarious, though. Like, I think that would be cool.
Just a C10 Corvette.
Yeah, just to bring that nomenclature back out. Like, that would be... Because everybody loves a C10.
We're only like 30 years out from that at this rate.
Yeah.
Because they've added a couple years to every progression. You know, like I did some of the math on, like, the C6 was like, I think 7 years. Then the C7 was like 12 years. And then the C8, we're going on like 9 years, 8 years now. 7 years, 8 years now-ish, from when they like first showed what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And they don't seem like they're slowing down at all.
I have no idea.
The R35 GTR went for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't let that thing die.
And looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
I think the headlights changed just ever so slightly. Like not even the shape, but just like the lens or the internal reflector part or something changed very small.
But maybe I'm just looking to the next thing as the current thing's already cool.
Yeah. The current thing, that's what I'm saying. I can't even imagine what they could do to improve upon this. But I also thought the same when the C7 ZR1 come out. You know, we would go over to NCM Raceway, and when you see how fast that car can accelerate to 100 and then decelerate from 100, like, it's nuts.
I would like to see that engine make it into more things.
Like the LT7 itself?
Yeah.
Like what, though? Like a Camaro?
I mean, just anything, because like that's the greatness of the push rod stuff.
Yeah.
That's why the LS was so great.
Yeah, and even Coyote. Yeah.
And that's why the Coyote's so great, because they're readily available. And if that engine's never like truly readily available, it'll always be some obscure, cool piece that only some people touch.
I would like to see that either the LT6 or LT7 with a standard transmission, or like a regular automatic transmission behind it, like a Turbo 400 or something. Just, you know, something that's been around for a long time where we have good converter technology on it, and just see what that motor can do if it's leaving at 6,000, 7,000 RPM. I mean, it just...
Yeah, that'll sound cool.
It could be nasty,
yeah,
you know?
That'll be an exciting thing to see. But again, like if you want to see more of those things, they have to be readily available.
Right.
Maybe GM will have so many problems with the 6.2 in the trucks.
They'll just start using that.
Yeah. They're just like, listen, we can't get the 6.2 right. They're all blowing up. Let's just pivot.
Yeah.
It's time to pivot. Dude.
That's what I'm hoping we stop seeing bottom end issues on GM motors at this point. Like I had to buy a Ford this time. I just couldn't do it.
I saw the Raptor.
Yeah.
Is it an R?
No, I wanted the regular. I'm just I drive like a pawpaw. I don't need the power. And of course obviously I've got a tune I can throw in it and pick up another 100 plus horsepower, and I just don't though. It's just stock.
Yeah.
But I went to go buy I would love to buy a GM truck. My last truck was a GM truck. But, man, it just makes me nervous.
My wife just got a GM truck.
Is it 5.3 or 6.2?
It's a 5.3.
Okay. Well, maybe you're all right.
21.
Okay.
With a 10-speed.
Oh, you got a 21 model. Okay. Okay. Because I was told that 21 through 22 5.3s had bottom end issues and the 6.2s were okay.
Okay.
And then it transitioned to
it
the 6.2 problems, is what I was told.
This one's got 50,000 miles on it already, so I'd imagine it would have already let go.
Yeah.
But I think I hear the lifters spin, or the lifters have problems. Some tray issues.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't really see that era of lifter, I don't see fail as often as like I do like the 14 and 19 trucks.
Well, and they're recalling all the 10 speeds.
Ford's having 10-speed problems too, though.
Yep.
Like I really had to put some thought into my next vehicle that I bought. And so that's why I was like, you know what, I'm just going to get this little EcoBoost Raptor, and if it's junk, then I'll just trade it in and get something else.
Well, I look at my 2017 L5P with 126,000 miles on it, and I'm just like,
yep, keep it forever.
I guess I'll just own it forever. And it's got the real Allison.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the 10-speed Allison.
Yeah.
Like, it's the last that actually used like the 8-speed true Allison. So I'm like, I guess I'll just die with this truck.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing with me, like with Corvettes, is like, they're cool cars, but I'm a truck guy.
Yeah.
Like, I try to keep up with them, but that's why I want all these other guys to go out there and tune the ZR1s and do their thing. And, you know, maybe we may try to slot in and see if we can get an ET record at some point. But when it comes to the trucks, that's where I'm at.
I like Corvettes as an observer.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, it's never really interested me all that much to own one.
Yeah.
I don't really like sitting in them.
Yeah.
I don't like sitting like so flat like that.
Yeah.
It's just not that comfortable.
Yeah.
So I've never really pursued the ownership of one. The only ones I could really see maybe are like a C7 Z06 or like a C6Z.
Be cool.
But otherwise, it's just meh.
Yeah.
And when you're saying you like truck, you're talking like performance truck too?
I just like trucks in general.
Just trucks?
Yeah, just trucks. That's just been my thing. Give me a 4-wheel drive, crew cab. It can be slow too. I don't care. But I'm a truck guy. So when I get in these Corvettes, like as many as I've been in, with Corvettes, I think I got so turned off on them because the C5s were rattle traps. It didn't last very long. You know, they're blowing out bushings. And the C6, they come out and we thought, oh man, these are going to be great. They become rattle traps and interior starts falling apart on them. And it's just kind of always been where the Corvette, like for whatever reason, you know, you buy like the 3LT package and you get the leather wrap dash and then the leather's like bubbling up and you got to inject it with glue or whatever they're doing. And so I'm curious to see how the C8 holds up, but I will tell you from a standpoint of riding in the car, that ZR1, it is the only car I could compare it to as far as acceleration goes on the street would be a Plaid. I think that would be a very good race on the street. But the ZR1 makes cool noises.
Do you think that the electric stuff is just kind of making the gas stuff so obsolete, though?
I don't know yet.
It's really hard. Like, you can only compare it to a Plaid.
Yeah, a 4-door, 5,000 or 6,000 pound car, and we're comparing a $250,000 Corvette to it, but
The top of the line Corvette to like a commuter car.
yeah.
That's why I think one of my more controversial opinions is 20 years from now, there's going to be two types of cars that are interesting from the past. Or currently for people, it'll be electric stuff or old stuff with sticks.
Okay.
Old manual stuff.
So you don't foresee any of these newer cars actually being like cool in the future?
I just don't think they'll be very special. I think we'll look at the C8 ZR1 the same way we look at a C4 ZR1.
I like a C4 ZR1 though.
Yeah, but like look at how the market looks at it.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody bats an eye.
Yeah.
Because you're like, everything kind of performs better than
So,
that.
so do you think that the electric market is just going to keep getting faster and faster and faster?
It's kind of inevitable.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I mean, even like 1-2% gain in potential every year is pretty huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And it's like you're going to have to just sacrifice performance for like the noise.
Yeah. Do you think we'll ever get a domestic 7-second car, quarter mile?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I think
nuts.
so.
That is just nuts.
I think you'll be able to buy one off the lot. I think an electric car will do it.
Yeah.
I think like a Tesla variant will be very close to doing
Oh,
it.
I agree with that 100%. Because he was supposed to come out with like that Roadster or whatever, and that car was supposed to be even faster than the Plaid. So,
But realistically, if your car is automatic, like it does the same as an electric car at that point. It's the same, truly is the same-ish driving experience. Like it's not doing anything like that different.
Yeah.
That's why I think 20 years from now, the only cars we'll think about are the ones that were manual, because that's going to be the only actual differentiating factor between an electric car and a gas car.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think all these manufacturers not doing stick shifts are screwing up.
I agree with that too. I think every kid should learn how to drive a stick shift. I think they should always at least give us a little pickup truck, with 4-cylinder 5-speed for the kids to drive,
Like, think about the GTD.
Yeah.
So cool. But, like, once the next 5 cars pass it in performance, why is anybody going to think about that?
Yeah.
What does it have to offer besides, like, weird wide body fenders? Yeah. It's like the C5 Z or 5th gen Z28.
That car was horrible.
The only reason that will be cool though forever is because it was manual 7-liter.
Yeah, I agree. It was a cool thought. The car just didn't do what they claimed it was going to do.
Well, all 5th gens suck.
I didn't say that, but I do agree.
I mean, all 5th gens kind of suck.
Yeah.
Well, like the 5th gen Z28, like top of the line track package, didn't even have AC in some of them. Wasn't even as good as like the entry level 6th gen.
Yeah.
On the track.
Right.
With the 6.2.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, okay, I guess you guys just really sucked.
Yeah.
You guys really screwed up on the whatever they called that platform. It wasn't the Alpha platform. The Alpha was like the 5th gen, the 6th gen, I think. Something like that.
I don't know what you're talking about. What was Alpha?
Alpha?
Yeah.
That's what they called those platforms.
Okay.
They had the Alpha, the Zeta platform was like what they built those on. They were the Australian designed ones.
Okay.
That were the CTSV was also built on it. The 6th gen was also built on it, or 5th gen-ish. Like they kind of transitioned.
Yeah.
But something like that. Some more GM nerds know.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I know about the engines and the transmissions and the driveline part of things, but I don't know any of that stuff. So.
At least there's a lot now to keep you busy.
Yeah. Oh, there is. And that's why I hope they keep the Corvette C8 for a very long time. I hope they bring back out the Camaro.
That's not going to happen.
You don't think so?
No. Not as a car that's worth tuning.
Yeah. I really like the dual overhead cam, high revving. I think if GM sticks with that, it could be really cool.
I think they've had to have spent a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
Like there must be so much money into that engine development-wise to make the money back to be worth it. They have to put it in more things.
Yeah.
They have to use it heavily. Or at least like maybe the next Corvette will be all of that.
Yeah.
That will be like the whole series will start with that. I don't know. But we'll wrap this up. It's getting late. I appreciate you coming here. You are remote tuning guy. How can people find you to get remote tuned? How many ZR1s would you like to tune?
I don't want to tune any ZR1s until I know those cars like the back of my hand. So if you see this and you're interested in ZR1 tuning, at this point I don't know what to tell you. So I know there's other guys out there that are trying to learn about it and they may do a good job, but I have zero interest in touching one of those cars right now. But as far as remote tuning, it's tuning-tips.com. I still do that quite a bit, again, mainly trucks. But yep.
Mostly you still do that quite a bit? Or
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm up to I guess it's been almost exactly 2 years since I started the website, and I'm up to 3,800 tunes just off the website alone.
Okay, you made it sound like you're transitioning out of
No, I'm transitioning out of tuning in person.
Yes.
So trying to live the happier life.
Remote tune from your boat.
Well, yeah, actually, I was looking at houses in Bradenton earlier. So,
Oh, nice.
So I may live here as of tomorrow. Actually, we'll see. Well, at least half the time.
There's a couple good ones in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's as much of a part-time neighborhood as you might be looking at.
I'm just going to do like a week down here and then a week back in Tennessee and just, I don't know. I get seasonal depression pretty bad, so I like the warm weather.
I mean, it's not that bad of a drive down here either.
Yeah,
so.
nah.
Good deal. Well, guys, go check them out. Thank you so much for coming on, and I will see you next time.